When we speak about aging, the conversation often drifts toward what is lost, as though time only takes and never gives. Yet biology suggests something more nuanced. After 50, the body does not simply weaken, it adapts, reorganizes, and seeks efficiency. One of the most overlooked players in this process is the calf muscle, a structure so familiar that we rarely question its deeper role. Scientifically, the calves function as a powerful peripheral pump. Each time they contract, they assist venous blood in traveling upward against gravity, returning it to the heart. This action reduces pooling in the lower limbs, improves circulation, and lightens the workload of the cardiovascular system. With age, when vessels lose some elasticity and circulation becomes less efficient, this muscular assistance grows more important, not less. Daily calf raises become a form of circulatory maintenance rather than exercise in the traditional sense. The movement is small, almost humble, yet its impact is systemic. As the heels lift and lower, pressure changes within the veins stimulate one-way valves that guide blood upward. This improves oxygen delivery to tissues and supports nutrient transport at a cellular level. The brain, especially sensitive to changes in blood flow, benefits quietly from this consistency. Many people associate cognitive clarity solely with the brain itself, but the brain is dependent on the body's ability to sustain steady circulation. When blood moves smoothly, the brain operates with less strain, and subtle fatigue that many seniors accept as normal may ease over time. There is also a relationship between circulation and inflammation that becomes more relevant with age. Poor blood flow encourages stagnation, and stagnation creates an environment where inflammatory signals linger longer than they should. Regular calf activation promotes movement within the vascular system, helping clear metabolic byproducts more efficiently. This does not eliminate inflammation, but it supports the body's natural regulatory processes. The result is not dramatic or immediate, but gradual and cumulative, much like aging itself. Small daily actions quietly reshape the internal environment. From a physiological perspective, the calves are uniquely positioned to influence endurance. They are among the first muscles to fatigue during walking, standing, or climbing stairs, and when they weaken, the entire body compensates. This compensation often shows up as knee strain, hip discomfort, or lower back tension. Strengthening the calves daily redistributes effort more evenly through the musculoskeletal chain. The body moves with less friction, conserving energy that would otherwise be spent overcoming inefficiency. Over time, this conservation becomes noticeable as improved stamina, not because the body is working harder, but because it is working smarter. There is a deeper lesson embedded here, one that science supports but philosophy helps us understand. Aging teaches the body to prioritize reliability over excess. Calf raises align with this principle. They do not chase intensity, they reinforce consistency. The nervous system responds well to this predictability, refining motor patterns and reinforcing stability. In this way, the simple act of lifting the heels becomes an affirmation that health after 50 is not about reclaiming youth, but about supporting the systems that quietly sustain life moment by moment, breath by breath, step by step. Balance is often treated as a background skill, something we only notice when it disappears. Yet from a scientific perspective, balance is a living conversation between the brain, the nervous system, the muscles, and the joints. After 50, this conversation can grow quieter, not because the body forgets how to stand, but because the signals traveling between systems lose clarity. Calf raises gently restore that clarity. Inside the muscles and tendons of the lower leg are sensory receptors that constantly report position, tension, and movement to the brain. These signals form the foundation of balance. When they weaken through inactivity, the brain receives incomplete information, and stability becomes uncertain even during simple tasks like turning or stepping off a curb. Daily calf raises act as a neurological reminder. Each slow rise onto the toes challenges the body to organize itself in space. The ankles stabilize, the calves contract, the core subtly engages, and the brain monitors every adjustment. This is not random effort, it is structured learning. Neuroscience shows that repeated, controlled movements strengthen neural pathways, even later in life. The brain remains adaptable, but only if it is invited to participate. Calf raises offer that invitation in a form that is accessible and safe, encouraging coordination without fear or strain. As we age, reaction time often slows, and this has consequences for balance. A stumble becomes harder to correct, not because the muscles lack strength, but because the timing between perception and response is delayed. Calf raises improve this timing by training the nervous system to respond to subtle shifts in weight. The body learns to sense imbalance earlier and correct it sooner. This early correction is the difference between recovery and a fall. Science increasingly recognizes that falls are rarely caused by sudden weakness, they result from delayed information processing. By practicing balance daily, the body shortens that delay. There is also an emotional layer to balance that physiology alone cannot explain. Fear of falling changes how people move. Steps become cautious, posture stiffens, and movement loses fluidity. Ironically, this tension increases instability. Calf raises, performed calmly and regularly, rebuild trust between the mind and the body. The brain begins to associate standing and movement with control rather than risk. This psychological reassurance feeds back into the nervous system, allowing movements to become smoother and more confident. Balance improves not only because muscles strengthen, but because fear gradually loosens its grip. From a broader biological view, balance reflects integration. Vision, inner ear function, joint awareness, and muscle strength all converge in a single moment of standing upright. When one system weakens, the others must compensate. Calf raises subtly support this integration by reinforcing the base of the body. The feet and ankles, often ignored, serve as the body's interface with the ground. When that interface becomes more responsive, the entire system benefits. Walking becomes less effortful, posture becomes more upright, and movement regains a sense of ease. At its core, balance is not about resisting movement but adapting to it. Aging does not eliminate the ability to adapt, it simply requires gentler, more consistent signals. Calf raises provide those signals in a way that respects the body's changing needs. They remind the nervous system that stability is not fixed, but practiced, renewed each day through attention, patience, and the quiet intelligence of repetition. Metabolism is often spoken about as if it were a clock that simply slows with age, ticking down beyond our control. After 50, many people accept fatigue, weight changes, and fluctuating energy as inevitable, without realizing that metabolism is not a single process but a network of interactions influenced by daily movement. The calf muscles, though rarely associated with metabolic health, play a surprisingly meaningful role. Muscle tissue requires energy even at rest, and the calves, being among the most frequently engaged muscles in the body, contribute to overall metabolic demand. When they are regularly activated through calf raises, they signal the body to maintain metabolic activity rather than downshift into conservation mode. One of the most important metabolic concerns after 50 is blood sugar regulation. As muscle mass gradually declines with inactivity, the body becomes less efficient at absorbing glucose from the bloodstream. This forces the pancreas to work harder, increasing the strain on insulin regulation. Calf raises gently counteract this process. Each contraction creates a demand for glucose within the muscle fibers, encouraging uptake directly from the blood. Over time, this improves insulin sensitivity, allowing the body to manage sugar levels with less effort. The effect is subtle, but cumulative, shaping metabolic stability rather than chasing rapid change. Circulation and metabolism are deeply connected. Efficient blood flow ensures that nutrients reach cells and waste products are removed promptly. The calves, acting as a peripheral pump, enhance this circulation, indirectly supporting metabolic efficiency across tissues. When blood moves freely, cells receive consistent signals about energy availability, reducing metabolic confusion. This clarity allows the body to allocate resources more intelligently, supporting organs, muscles, and the brain without unnecessary strain. In aging bodies, this efficiency becomes more valuable than speed or intensity. There is also a hormonal dimension to daily calf activation. Movement influences the release and regulation of hormones involved in appetite, energy balance, and stress. While intense exercise can sometimes overstimulate stress responses, gentle, repetitive movements like calf raises encourage balance rather than disruption. They support the release of hormones that promote energy utilization while keeping stress hormones in check. This balance matters deeply after 50, when the body becomes more sensitive to hormonal fluctuations and recovery takes longer. From an evolutionary perspective, the human body was designed for frequent, low-intensity movement rather than long periods of stillness interrupted by occasional effort. Calf raises align with this design. They mimic the natural muscular engagement that once occurred through walking, standing, and shifting weight throughout the day. By reintroducing this pattern, the body remembers how to regulate energy efficiently. Metabolism becomes less about forcing change and more about restoring rhythm. There is something quietly empowering about influencing metabolism through such a small, deliberate action. It challenges the belief that health improvements require extreme measures or youthful intensity. Calf raises demonstrate that the aging body still responds to intelligent signals. They encourage a relationship with metabolism based on cooperation rather than control. Each repetition becomes an affirmation that energy regulation is not lost with age, but waiting to be reawakened through consistent, mindful movement. Bone health is often framed through fear, a fear that becomes louder with age as stories of fractures and fragility accumulate. Yet bones are not passive structures waiting to fail. They are living tissues, constantly responding to the forces placed upon them. After 50, this responsiveness does not disappear, but it does require clearer signals. Calf raises provide those signals in a gentle, repetitive form that bones can understand. Each time the heels lift, mechanical stress travels upward through the feet, ankles, and lower legs, stimulating bone cells to maintain density and structure. This process, known biologically as remodeling, continues throughout life, adapting bone strength to habitual demands. The lower limbs are particularly important in this context because they bear the body's weight. When bones experience regular, controlled loading, they interpret it as a message that strength is still required. Without such signals, the body conserves resources, gradually reducing bone mass where it seems unnecessary. Calf raises counteract this conservation by reminding the skeletal system of its ongoing role. The stress they create is not violent or abrupt, but rhythmic and predictable, which is exactly what aging bones respond to best. Muscles and bones exist in constant partnership. When muscle strength declines, bones receive fewer mechanical cues, accelerating loss. Strengthening the calves daily restores part of this partnership. As the muscle contracts, it pulls on bone, creating tension that stimulates cellular activity. Osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building bone, become more active in response to this tension. The result is not dramatic growth, but preservation, and preservation is the true goal after 50. Science increasingly emphasizes that maintaining bone density is more achievable than rebuilding it once lost. There is also an indirect effect through posture and movement quality. Weak lower legs subtly alter how weight is distributed through the body. This redistribution increases stress on the knees, hips, and spine, areas already vulnerable with age. Calf raises improve ankle stability and alignment, allowing forces to travel more evenly through the skeleton. This reduces unnecessary strain and supports long-term joint integrity. Bone health, in this sense, extends beyond density and into how the body organizes itself under gravity. Nutrition often dominates conversations about bone health, and rightly so, but nutrients require mechanical stimulation to be fully effective. Calcium and vitamin D provide the raw materials, but movement tells the body where to use them. Calf raises help direct these resources to the bones that need them most. Without regular loading, even optimal nutrition may fail to translate into structural resilience. Movement and nourishment are not separate strategies, but complementary parts of the same biological conversation. On a deeper level, bone health reflects continuity. Bones hold the memory of how we move through the world. They adapt to habits, routines, and daily choices. Calf raises become a way of rewriting that memory, one small imprint at a time. They signal that the body is still engaged, still bearing weight, still participating in life's physical demands. In doing so, they transform bone health from a source of anxiety into an expression of quiet strength, grounded not in fear, but in steady, intentional care. Beyond muscles, bones, and metabolism, there is a subtler dimension to daily movement that science touches but does not fully name. The act of performing calf raises each day introduces a moment of awareness into the body, a pause where intention meets motion. After 50, this awareness becomes increasingly valuable. The body no longer responds well to neglect or force, but it responds deeply to attention. In the simple rise of the heels, the mind reconnects with sensation, balance, and breath. This reconnection is not symbolic, It has measurable effects on how the nervous system regulates stress, posture, and movement. Neuroscience shows that mindful, repetitive movement strengthens the brain's internal maps of the body. These maps guide coordination, efficiency, and even pain perception. When movement becomes unconscious or rushed, these maps blur. Calf raises performed with calm attention sharpen them. The brain learns again how weight shifts, how muscles engage, how stability feels. Over time, this clarity reduces unnecessary tension. Muscles stop overcompensating, joints move with less resistance, and the body conserves energy. What appears outwardly as a small exercise becomes inwardly a recalibration. There is also a psychological shift that occurs through consistency. Daily calf raises establish a promise kept, a small agreement honored between intention and action. For many seniors, health routines can feel overwhelming or discouraging, tied to past abilities or unrealistic expectations. This movement avoids those traps. It asks little but offers continuity. The brain associates movement with success rather than failure, reinforcing motivation and self-efficacy. Scientific studies link such positive reinforcement to improved adherence and long-term health outcomes, but on a human level, it simply feels grounding. Stress physiology plays a quiet role here as well. Chronic stress alters muscle tone, balance, and recovery. Gentle, repetitive movements signal safety to the nervous system. Calf raises, when done without urgency, activate parasympathetic responses that calm the body. Heart rate steadies, breathing deepens, and muscle tone normalizes. This creates an internal environment where healing and adaptation become more likely. Aging bodies thrive not under pressure, but under conditions of trust and predictability. There is something philosophically revealing about choosing such a modest practice. It challenges the idea that worth is measured by intensity or youth. Instead, it honors presence. Each repetition is an acknowledgement of the body as it is, not as it once was or should be. This acceptance does not lead to decline, it opens the door to sustainable strength. Science increasingly supports this approach, recognizing that longevity is built from practices that can be maintained without exhaustion or injury. In daily calf raises, the body is not being trained to compete, but to cooperate. Muscles, nerves, and joints synchronize around a shared task. The mind observes rather than commands. This cooperation fosters a sense of unity that many lose as aging fragments attention and confidence. Over time, this unity expresses itself in posture, gait, and demeanor. Movement becomes less defensive and more fluid, reflecting an internal state of balance. What begins as a physical action gradually reshapes identity. The body is no longer an obstacle to be managed, but a partner to be listened to. Aging then shifts from resistance to relationship. The quiet ritual of lifting and lowering the heels becomes a daily affirmation that care, awareness, and intention are not diminished by time, but refined by it. If you found these insights helpful and want to continue learning practical, science-backed strategies to stay healthy, strong, and vibrant as you age, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends and family who could benefit, and subscribe to our channel for daily senior wellness tips, nutrition guidance, and simple lifestyle hacks designed to enhance longevity and quality of life. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video that can help you live healthier, happier, and more empowered every day.